There is a recording in progress. I've been informed by my favorite, what do you call these things? Chatbot? Is that what you call these?
I
One of
haven't a
these
clue what it's called.
slaves that you
Yeah,
say, like Alexa. If I say that loud enough, will your Alexa pick it up?
absolutely. That's why I'm not saying it out
Anyway,
loud.
see, there's my Alexa saying she's not quite sure how to help me. I think Alexa's no bloody good, actually. I'm afraid that I've got Google as well, and Google's much better.
Yeah.
Have you tried
I
it?
think I think you're right.
Aye.
If that person is sitting or that what I'm referring to it as a person. It's not a person.
Aye. Aye.
It's quite close beside me. And if I say the famous name,
Yeah.
we'll get interrupted in 2 seconds. But the only thing it's very good for if you're putting something on the oven and say remind me in
Ah.
25 minutes, it does. It's useful for that.
Mm-hmm. It's brilliant. Have you tried Chat GBT by any chance?
No.
I urge you to try it. You don't have to bother yourself after that or use it again. That's fine. I'm beginning to find it invaluable. I
Yeah.
can get information about anything, and they'll even quote the sources that they got the information from.
Dude,
About,
I've got a friend in the newspaper industry, one of the dyeing industry, and he was telling me the other day that some newspapers are now seriously considering dropping a lot of staff and just using AI.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can see how that's the case. No bother. Like anyway, let's look at more. Well, they're all serious things. Now, I promised the last time we met, and incidentally, apologies because we're not able to do it last Monday, but here we are now. And I promised that we would be announcing the name of the first of our series of interviewees, uh, which I've recorded already, talking about a border poll. And the first one, which I will put up this afternoon, early this afternoon, I reckon about 2 o'clock, I'll put that up. And then next Friday, well, it's only a matter of 2 days, Pat and I will discuss that. And I'd be very interested to hear from viewers what their thoughts on it are as well. But I'll be putting it up after later today. And the person in question is, Pat doesn't know who it is. I'm going to tell
No, I
him.
don't.
Wallace Thompson.
Oh,
Does that
yes,
name
yes.
ring a bell for you?
Yes, it does indeed, yes.
Can you
Former
tell our
member of the Army
viewers who he
Charter and
is?
so on. Yeah. Former unionist, DUP guy, isn't he?
He's a
Uh,
founder of the DUP.
in Files, and he said, if I remember correctly, Paul Gosling talked to him many years ago, where he said that he didn't fear United Ireland. He wasn't welcome, but he said that he was open to a discussion if it would meant better for the people that he knew. And now,
I, yeah,
go
I
ahead,
think
sorry.
he's a very interesting guy because of his background. And I was looking at the tape, the recording, the other day, and somehow or another, when you see a person and listen to them over a few minutes, you begin to develop a sort of a sense of what kind of person this is. Um, I'll not tell you whether I was impressed or not impressed by him. But anyway, viewers, tune in about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and you'll see this has gone up. And then on Friday, Pat and I will discuss it. Okay, Pat, what I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about today. Uh, you mentioned the Epstein files to me.
Yeah, no, what's America seems to be convulsed, and it's affecting a whole lot of other things as well. Right. The Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the American House of House, he's called the whole thing off. He sent everybody home a couple of days early so they wouldn't get a debate on the Epstein files. Now, Trump has right in his last couple of days, he's got a guy, one of the top comedians, presenters on TV. He's got him fired. He's accused Obama of treason in regard to Russia. He's refused now to disclose the Epstein files. He's coming to Scotland on Friday.
Oh God, oh God.
Whatever, Jude. And the words, and there's all sorts of stuff going on, right, left, and center. And America seems to be, I don't know how the Americans seem to think. There are those who still think that this is great and he's the greatest president ever. And Jude, they want to name, what do you call it, the Kennedy Center. They wanted to call it the Melania Trump Opera House. They want
Oh,
to rename it
please.
after.
I
She's
don't
never
believe
been, as
it.
far as I know, to an opera in her life. She has zero connections with opera. She has serious lacking in any
Zero.
zero. Sorry, zero lacking of any kind of connection with culture, the arts, literature that, as I am aware, and
Whose
yet
bright idea is this then? Who came up with this
this is
masterful?
The Republicans in New York apparently want to, or not just in New York. What I'm saying, Republicans. They want to name it as the Melania Trump. So
Hmm.
that's just what's going on, and it's completely and utterly insane. What America has become. But anyway, Jude, let's get back to the Epstein.
Yeah.
Our friend Mike Johnson yesterday dissolved basically the American Parliament and said and so they can't discuss it. And yet they said they're basically at the same time they're riding two horses. They're basically trying to say nothing to see here, right? Um, Martin Luther King's daughter apparently they issued 230,000 pages yesterday
Yeah.
of the investigation into Martin Luther King's death, assassination, and his daughter followed up by saying, "Right now, let's release in full the Epstein files." Dude, here's the thing: Trump has been seen on numerous occasions in Epstein's company. He's been on the island. Apparently, there are lists of people on the flights to that island. Apparently, there are lists of people who actually stayed on the island. Apparently, there are recordings of them, and there are claims that there are videos of people. These are all allegations, but there's been a major investigation which led to just Ghislaine Maxwell getting 20 years in jail. Has that all that evidence that got her in jail disappeared?
Is she not? Wasn't there talk about getting her to testify in front of a
Yeah.
committee? Is that
Apparently,
going by the
she
board?
is anxious to testify, but
I thought she had
it's
been
not going to
called.
happen.
Is that not going to
But
happen?
no, it's only Jude. Here's a thought has just come as we speak. If it ever came to pass that Ghislaine Maxwell was to testify in front of the Houses of Congress, I would suggest that Ghislaine Maxwell will never make it there. She'll die accidentally or something because that's the level we're at. Jude. It's just the corruption is so unbelievable. Like Trump had got, I can't remember the name of the guy now off the top of my head. He was the top, he was the presenter, Stephen Colbert, that's his name. He
Yeah.
was the presenter of the Late Late Show, or the Late Show in Britain or America. It's the biggest show in
Yeah.
late
I
night,
saw that.
and he got sacked last Friday. Basically, he was told his contract's not been renewed. Earlier, his company, Paramount, settled an absolute ridiculous case with Trump about the editing of a program in regard to the presidential election, which, by the way, he won. So I don't see how it was worth 16 million.
Hmm.
Anyway, uh, uh, what do you call him? Colbert went on last, I think, the Monday week and said this is a big fat bribe to Donald Trump. They want a big corporate merger where the owners of CBS she will get 8 billion personally. So she wants us to go ahead. Colbert said the merger, the payment of money to Trump to allow the merger to go ahead is a bribe. The next day, it was announced that his contract is cancelled. That is this. Like I could keep going, but that is where America is today.
Yeah. But is there a danger, Pat? And I think we always have to be alert to this. That appalling though that is, that that guy should Colbert should lose his job because of Trump. Um, is there any danger that might be a distraction from the pressing question of Epstein? Now, you've said that Mike Johnson's sending people home early. You feel like the summer break for the House of
Yeah,
Representatives and presumably the Senate as well is about to happen earlier than normal. Is
yeah,
that going to affect this call for Maxwell to be brought in front of this committee to
yeah.
testify?
Absolutely, Jude.
Will
Just
they be all off on their holidays then? So it won't happen.
yeah, they're all off on their holidays now. Basically, it heads it off at the pass. Everything goes dead now. And Johnson, the absolute spurious argument where he said basically this is a shit show by the Democrats and said, Jude, the issue is whether they have a rapist, a human trafficker in the White House, and so. But Jude, I don't know what somebody said the other day. Kevin Bridges, the Scottish comedian, and it wasn't quite in the context of Trump. He says we have become so used now to absolute horrible, what's happening in Gaza. We have
Yeah.
almost become inured to it. What's they've made and what remember the Germans during the Nazi tell a big lie and it's more believable than a small lie. America
That's
has gone full on
hmm
now. It's just one absolute ridiculous thing after another, and people just seem to accept it.
Mm.
Like, if this was Biden, if this was Barack Obama, if this even was Bush, but Trump just, it's one scandal after another, and everybody just says, "Oh, sure, that's Trump."
I think I have a funny feeling, some of these are bigger scandals than others. For example, I take the Epstein thing much more seriously than I would say the loss of a job by Stephen Colbert, even though that's very important too, because that's got to do with free speech.
Yeah,
Um, Tell me this, Pat. Did you see two things? Did you see a picture of Trump standing beside Jeffrey Epstein,
yeah,
and both with their arms around young women? Well, young women. Certainly, Trump
yeah,
has his
yeah,
arm
yeah,
around the young
yeah.
woman he's
They're all
beside.
out there. They're all on social media now, Jude.
Did you see the video of Trump standing alongside Epstein at some do or another? And Trump is amusing Epstein with some thing he whispers in his ear,
Yeah,
and
that was on the
Epstein
news.
doubles up
That
in
was on the
laughter.
news. That was on the mainstream news the other night.
God Almighty! It's do you? Well, okay, you don't have the facts, and I don't have the facts either. But if you were a betting man, Pat, would you bet that Trump is involved in Epstein case or not?
Dude,
Do
I
you think
have
he's part
zero
of this?
doubt whatsoever. He's up to his neck in it. His attitude to a reporter, he still want to talk about it. He wants it to go away. Jude, America, and it's the first time his own base has actually sort of turned on him, because I think it's about 53% of Americans say he's hiding something here, and
Yeah.
Jude, it's obvious he's hiding something.
Okay.
Jude, here's the point: if Jude Collins or Pat McGart were accused of being a rapist and a paedophile, I would, and there was a report that cleared our names, we would be jumping out of our skins to get it published and said, wait a minute, here's the proof that we are neither rapists nor child or pedophiles or whatever. Trump is doing everything under the sun. He told, he denied it. He refuses to release the report. Tells reporters he's not answering questions about it anymore. And then when the shit hits the fan, he tells the his attorney general to release it, but apparently she's not releasing it at all because half of it's redacted. So, Jude, it's just one what a ridiculous sort of. It's something like it's gone down a rabbit hole and nobody knows where it's going to come up again.
Do you think that the big thing he was worried about, you're right, is that the Epstein file was going to affect his base, whereas the
Yeah,
other stuff affects other people outside his base, in the
yeah.
case is loyal. Do you think that, given that this is Epstein, given that the base is a large part of the base is quite disturbed by this, do you think it's going to sink into oblivion, or do you think it's going to keep on festering and come back and bite uh, Trump where he deserves to be bitten?
I think it's going to come back and bite him. Like this week, Obama has ignored basically everything Trump has said about him. But this thing, Obama should be charged with treason in regard to accusations in regard to Russia. Obama come back this week and said that his stance on Russia is based on facts, based on reports, and no, totally legitimate concerns about American security and et cetera, et cetera. And he said, what Trump was doing is deliberate distraction to get away from the Epstein files and so on. So,
Sounds very like it to me.
but in other words, he's throwing out the shit at Obama. I know baseless stuff just to distract. But and he's going to try something else next week. Remember you used the term, and I hadn't even remembered that they had used it, flooding the zone. In other
Yeah.
words, people get so distracted by, oh, look at the light over there when you want to, look at someone else over here.
Yeah,
When you don't,
yeah,
sorry, when
yeah.
you don't want them
It
to look
just,
at someone over there. Yeah.
yeah, it just goes on and on, and he knows that Obama would be a hit figure within his solid base, so that's good. He'd throw them this piece
Dude,
of.
let me tell you, a couple of years ago, I was friends with an American guy. He used to come over here to golf, and he was quite a well-off guy. And one time he came over, and I'm not going to say, to put it like this guy was a fairly big guy in media in America,
Hmm.
and it was during the Obama presidency. And this guy, halfway through, Judy, he hated Obama. And I am 100% the reason he hated Obama was he was black. Nothing to do with his presidency, nothing. And I realized there are a whole lot of people in America, Jude. I know the famous one, nobody's quite sure whether they meant it as a compliment or an insult. apparently Clinton was overheard at a function in the White House when Obama took over, where he said, 20 or 30 years ago, this guy would have been serving us coffee.
Well, you wonder whether that's a joke or whether that's really a tribute to the fact that.
Yeah, that's the point. Nobody's quite sure,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
I'm taking as Clinton meant it, and because apparently Clinton was colorblind, that he promoted a
Oh,
lot of black people.
yes. Okay, let's leave that for a moment. Let's come home for a second. John Boucher, that's Chief Constable John Boucher, went to visit somebody in, I think it was the Mater Hospital
Yeah.
in Belfast, and it was a guy whose brother
Mm.
had years and years before been killed by a
Yeah.
loyalist gang or loyalists. What they did was they cut a hole in the
Peace
fence, the
line.
peace wall, and they got in. They shot this guy dead in his taxi. This is 1994. And then there really was no investigation worth talking about. But Chief Constable John Boucher went to Thompson's, who was known as Topper Thompson, the guy who was assassinated when he was 25. His brother, Eugene Thompson, is the only brother. He's dying of cancer, I think it is. And
Terminal
Boucher
cancer. Yeah.
went and apologized to him at his bedside for what had happened and the delay and the essentially the failure of the RUC at the time to bring these I suppose unionist
Yeah.
murder gangs to book. Would you applaud that, or would you say you're just a bit late, mate?
Both, Jude. I'm riding two horses on. Like for the day in man, with you must Eugene Thompson, terminally ill. He's fought for years since 1994 to clear his, for to get some explanation. And John Boucher, I appreciate the fact that he went and all that, but the second part of your question, it's way too late for the RUC, Jude. How this man is dying. Apparently, Jude, the hole in the fence or the wall was phoned in to the REC to warn them, look, there's somebody's been at this one.
Yes,
And
that's right. They knew about it.
I didn't even bother sending anybody down to check it or anything else. And then, as you said, the examination after the shooting and the murder was cursory, to put it, or the investigation was cursory, to put it mildly. I don't think anybody was ever arrested or charged yet. Jude, the UDA was rife with RUC informers. That people were getting paid. They knew within 10 minutes of it being done, the RUC would have known who had shot him, because that's the way it was in those days. Nothing was ever done. Jude, when I hear a lot of these unionist politicians, besmirching the good name of the RUC, Jude, I am accepting that there were genuinely people in the RUC who intended to do well, but Jude, it was rife with bigots and sectarian people as well, and that's a fact. It's not my
Uh,
opinion. Report after report after report confirms that.
yeah, yeah. And of course, there's been any number of other cases, Lahan
Yeah.
Island and so on,
Uh,
where the investigation by the police was unsatisfactory at best, and
but Jude, within the
sometimes even
RUC,
sharing the
well,
guilt because they were
yeah,
part of the
I
conspiracy.
remember there was a guy, there was a John T. Johnson or something. He said there was a police force within a police force. The special branch ran all that sort of stuff, and they didn't follow any sort of moral rules or any of that. Dude, they knew, and it was a big game, and so on. And apparently, nearly a special branch constable could nearly tell a chief constable, or not a chief constable, a sort of superintendent, where to go, because they had so much power back in the day.
Mhm. Okay, let's go on to back to the States again and consider the fact you unearthed this. I saw this briefly, but I haven't got the facts about tourism in the US. Now, I have a son living in the US, and we normally visit him once a year in the summer. This year, I'm a bit less sure, and it sort of matches what you've got
Yeah.
information about tourism in the US. Tell us more.
Dude, what do you, so I'm so bad with figures. I always write figures down. The World Travel and Tourism Council, it's a private organization, but it's a global one, has revealed that the United States was on track to lose an eye-watering 12.5 billion in international visitors spending in 2025, but could reach as high as 29 billion. But here's the thing, Jude. this was based earlier on Canadians in particular. They have stopped going to the States in huge number. But apparently, I just saw a wee thing this morning, but didn't get a chance to look at it. The numbers they were predicting that would drop from Canada is actually considerably higher than they originally thought. It's something like 35% of people who had booked from Canada to go to America have not gone ahead. I think people on the Canadian border, on the other side, in the States, the guys that own motels and hotels and leisure parks, they must be absolutely unbelievably hit by this number. But you, the other thing as well, uh, there's a thing up there quite recently. I saw it on social media. If you're thinking of going to America, don't go. There's a not, there's quite a lot of international. I think it's something like 35 Canadians have been detained actually in jail by the Americans. Jude, I hear, Jude, let me run this by you. I am pretty certain if me and you, particularly me and you, right, in a passport in America, I think you'd be on the slammer pretty quick, and so would I. I'm deadly serious, by the way. I'm not joking about that.
You think we're that famous, Pat?
Yeah, no, they want to see your Facebook, they want to see your social media contacts, they want all the rest of it. What we have said, and anybody says anything against Israel, is and all the rest of it, will be put the best we could hope for. I would think if they gone to our social media history, they would have stripped back on a plane.
or else a plane down to somewhere in South America,
Yeah,
into some hellhole, or to quote the delicate words of Trump himself, some shithole in
yeah.
South
But
America.
just to digress for 10 seconds, isn't it amazing that you're you're not allowed to criticize Israel and America? Imagine you're not allowed to criticize a foreign country.
Yeah, we're so used to it now, Pat. I think we almost taking their stride, and I guess that's what the idea is: flooding the zone again.
Yeah.
Um, the famine, Pat. The famine.
Yes.
Isn't it funny now? Any other time than over until about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, if I said to you the famine, you would have said, "Oh yeah, 19th century Ireland."
Yeah.
When we say the famine now, we say something different because we see the famine on our TV screens every evening.
Yeah.
Tell us, have you got any more facts and
Yeah.
figures on that?
Jude, as far as what I call it, I wrote this down. So 21 kids have died in Gaza in this last 2 days from malnutrition, and there are fears that it's going to, exponentially in the coming days. The UN, there was a guy on UN on RT yesterday. I heard him said there are literally hundreds of trucks of the UN sitting ready to go in to ease it, but so on. Nothing's happened, and this absolute barbarity that they call the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, that should be known as the Gaza Assassination Front. They have killed 1,000 people, including I think it was 80 on Monday, queuing for food. Jude, it's barbaric. It is despicable. It's grotesque. Every word that you can think of. The Israelis, by the way, Jude, here, and I'm going to digress again. When this is all over, I have zero doubt that the Israelis will flood the zone with thousands upon thousands of what they call Hasbara, paid professional propagandists who will say that Hamas could have ended this war and Israel was wanted to end it, and Israel was the victim of all this. And by the way, there was a guy called Alan Shatter, a former minister on in the Irish government during and Fine Gael. He was on the other evening, and he said he compared the occupied territories bill, the passing of it. If it goes ahead with what anti-Jewish discriminatory in Germany in the 1930s, how offensive is that? How
Uh,
seriously offensive is that? I think Mr. Shatter, and I'm saying this publicly, if his loyalty is so great to the Jewish people to smear Ireland, he should go and live in Israel or wherever the hell he wants, because what he's doing is actually smearing what is a totally legitimate and fair criticism of Israel is not criticism of Jews. It is not discrimination against Jews. In fact, there are many, many Jewish people, very, very decent people, who feel exactly the same as you and me about what's going on in Israel.
I was watching TV it was the last night or the night before, and a couple of shocking things were reported. One was it showed you shots of a baby that clearly was suffering from malnutrition.
Yeah,
And they said this baby is something, it's 3 months old and it should be such and such a weight.
yeah,
In fact, it's got the weight of an infant of about 3 weeks.
yeah,
I just thought that's terrible. That really
Yeah,
is terrible. The worst thing we could throw at anybody is to say you're a baby killer, because
yeah,
babies are totally defenseless
yeah.
and
Dude,
depend on us.
you know that guy Christian and Gertie Murty, the
Yes.
guys on Channel 4. He
Yeah.
had an Israeli trade lady, and you talk about arrogance, hubris, you know, despicable, absolutely. If babies are dying, blame Hamas. If anything's happening, blame Hamas. Israel is only defending itself. Dude, all this Dude, here's the thing. People seem to admit. They said, "Have you read the Hamas charter? It wants to put Israel off the map." Like, let's get real here. Israel is never going to be put off the map by Hamas. Israel is far stronger. It's got massive American intelligence support, financial support, military support. It's never going to happen. But Israel is capable of putting Gaza and Palestinians off the map, which they are doing in genocide right now. So this, when you hear any Israeli said, "Oh, would you look at Hamas's charter?" It's absolute bullshit.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder, will we be seen as being to blame in future generations? Will they look back at us and say, what a bunch of weak-kneed bastards they were? They
Yeah,
could see, for example, I mentioned that baby being malnutrition. The fact is, the same report mentioned that some doctors are now suffering from malnutrition because they only get a break of one meal a day if they're lucky, so that it's infecting everybody,
yeah,
not just the patients in the hospitals, and all those wounded people, but also the doctors who are trying to do stuff to save them.
yeah,
This just seems to me unbelievable. Now,
yeah,
is there no way? Why do you draw conclusions about the? Here's my conclusions, Pat. The United Nations is useless if they
yeah,
can't intervene and stop that. Well, how they do it, I don't know. Personally, I would say if you've got United Nations people who have got guns and have got military sort of gear on, they should go in and they should insist that the place where the food is being queued should be opened and it should be made distributed to the people who are in need. It's just beyond words. I don't want to be part of this, and yet I think future history will blame us as well as
yeah,
everybody else. We didn't do
yeah.
anything.
Dude, I listened to David Lammy, the British Foreign Secretary, and the last day, the idea of a chocolate fire guard came to mind. Him and Starmer, I think I keep using this word despicable, but I can't think of another adjective to describe them. They
Bastards.
are unbelievable. Like he came on, he was on and sort of he danced around condemning Israel. What's happening is terrible, but he won't condemn and they won't take action. They said, "Oh, we have stopped supplying parts for this or that." Why don't they come out and say right away, we are going to send in ships or planes with food into Gaza. We're going to take concrete action. We're going to lead them. They're doing nothing, Jude. All they're doing is dancing in diplomatic heads of pins. They're
I,
they're doing absolutely
I
nothing.
know,
And
don't
he's
forget,
trying to
you
let
don't
on
have
that
to
they
go.
are.
You don't have to go to them to see. I mean, the British Foreign Minister. What has the South of Ireland done? I mean, what has Micheál Martin done? He
Yeah,
has made wringing hands motions and he supported some vague statement. Oh, yeah, himself and South Africa got together and said, this is awful. And it hadn't the slightest effect. And
no.
Micheál is now saying, oh, this is too bad, really. It should not go on. And 20 countries have signed up to it. For God's sake. You know,
25 countries. But there was some talk, remember, that a couple of ministers said off the record to Israeli people, the occupied territories bill will be kicked down, the can will be kicked down the road. Jude, and I get the distinct impression that's exactly what it,
oh,
because they're saying, oh, this might affect our relationships with America. It might affect, Jude, at this stage, I couldn't give a shit, Jude. I really couldn't. There's some, I'd nearly rather eat grass than sort of be compromised all the time. Oh, so we can't afford, maybe three holidays in America or, in France or Spain or something this year. Big deal. Dude, if it means that you go through your life watching people starve, Jude, I think on a big global thing. I think what's happening in Gaza is affecting the mental health of a hell of a lot of people. The moral, the sense of well-being. I have talked to a lot of people. They don't want to watch the news anymore. There's an anxiety out there. There's a
Oh,
depression out there. And I'm
oh yeah.
serious. I'm deadly serious. I've
All
come a
right.
lot of people who still tell me, Pat, I feel terrible these days.
Yeah.
And there's no joy, you
I
know.
switch over. I switch over. I know it's
Uh,
shameful, but I can't listen to it anymore. I really
uh,
can't. Okay. Well, it's just about a minute and a half left, Pat. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having fun. Trump in Scotland. Trump is
yeah,
coming to Scotland. He's going to
yeah,
meet with the British, I think British Prime Minister, maybe the Foreign Minister, Lammy, you were talking about.
yeah,
But he's also going to check out his golf
yeah.
clubs and how well they're doing. So, if you like, it's combining business and pleasure. What do you think of that? Would you line up so you could shake the president's hand, maybe, and
Jude,
wish him well?
I've had a Molotov cocktail handy. I would throw it, or a petrol bomb. Jude, by the way, this is another bit of distraction. So much shit's happening in America. He's coming over to Scotland, but it's quote a private visit. Jude, he knows, and the Americans knows, if it was a public visit, there'd be protests everywhere. But there will be protests, quite serious ones, I would presume, Jude. Here, I think them. It's just another thing that he's doing to get away from the whole Epstein. And America, it'll be President Trump arriving in Europe and President Trump with it's just to get away from what's happening in America because it's apparently he's coming over at very short notice.
It's another act of distraction, in my opinion. I mean,
Absolutely.
of course, he cares about his business, but you know perfectly well he doesn't have to go over to Scotland to make sure his business is working.
Yeah.
The terrible thing is this, Pat. The people in the various resorts, golf resorts in Scotland, are glad that he's coming over because it means their club gets more publicity.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the same thing applies to the Irish one. Is it down in Kerry or somewhere? Where
Uh, 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 I can't
Dingle
remember.
is it?
Doonbeg is off
Big,
clear.
yeah. The people, the local people somehow shelve their conscience and say, this is good. We're glad. It gives so much, so much. My timer's going there. Uh, Hold on a second, Pat. I said, okay. They're so glad to be getting employment that they're prepared to shut their eyes to what's happening. It's like Homer Simpson working in the
Nuclear
nuclear
factory.
industry
Yeah.
and, smiling and joking and so on. What would you do, Pat, if you were Scottish and Trump was arriving? Would you make a trip and demonstrate?
I would definitely be demonstrating. Trump showing up there is absolutely ridiculous. Jude, I would be out protesting, and I think anybody with a conscience would be out protesting.
Mhm. Okay. Final question, Pat, and we're out of time, and that um, is it true that Jimmy is winning matches?
Well, on Sunday, we certainly hope so.
For for those outsiders who don't understand that reference, it's a reference to Jimmy. What's his name anyway? Jimmy,
Jesus, you put that out of my head now. Jimmy
the
McGuinness.
manager, the manager
Jim
of
McGuinness.
the
Jim McGuinness.
Jim McGinnis,
Uh,
the manager of the Donegal team. Who fair play to him. He took the. Did they win once or twice All Ireland's already?
he won. He won. He got to two All Ireland finals. He won one of them, and he's back again.
He's an astonishing guy.
And Donegal were in the doldrums until he took over
Oh yeah, they were never in they weren't in the
the
game at
races.
all. But
Uh,
he's done something fun. I think he wanted to become a professional soccer manager. That's my
I
suspicion.
don't.
He spent a year up in
But
Glasgow
he's
Celtic.
Judy has no background in soccer. He was always a GA player.
But you see that it's that motivation, it's that ability. I don't think he's telling them how to kick the ball. I think he's telling them how to be, the kind of spirit they should bring to the
Warriors.
game.
Uh,
Anyway, I'll be watching. Did you enjoy the hurling? Did you watch the hurling?
Hurling was superb, absolutely superb. I saw
You
that
see,
about the
you're
last
better than
20
me,
minutes.
Pat. I'm not a hurling fan, to be honest with you. And I thought it was pretty devastating the way that was it Tipperary came back again. And then my heart sort of was saddened because I do like Cork. I've always liked the
Yeah,
Cork people.
yeah.
And it was tough on them. But anyway, it certainly was a masterclass in how to come back when you're behind. But
Uh,
can you follow the ball with your eyes? I
and
can't.
not that. I don't think anybody can, even the cameraman. But the thing about it was, did I watch the last 20 minutes in a pub in Mayo on Sunday? It was a lovely atmosphere. The pub was a
Don't.
lovely atmosphere.
Well, you see, I don't know why they haven't solved that, given the fact that most people are seeing hurling on TV now.
Yeah,
There must be ways of making the ball phosphorescent or standing out or dimming the screen when the ball's in the air or something. There must be a better
yeah.
way because as it stands, all I see is the guy hitting it, and the next minute it's somewhere else.
Uh,
Okay, time's
on
gone.
that note,
Okay, Pat. Oh, and don't
oh,
forget, we just want to remind people later today, later
uh,
today, not Wallace Beery. Does that name mean anything to you, Pat?
aye, the Hollywood star.
The old Hollywood black and white star. Not
Yeah,
Wallace Beery, but Wallace Thompson, co-founder of the DUP, will be appearing in a video interview with me, uh, and I'll put it up. And he's talking about the possibilities of border poll united Ireland. And Pat and I will dissect the guts of that on Friday. It's
Friday.
only 2 days away, so keep your
Uh,
hearts up, okay? Right,
all the
Pat.
best,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
See you Friday.